Hey, Kyle, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
So where you from, man? What do you do?
Well, I living in Key West, Florida, but I guess I'm kind of from Florida as well, Pensacola area. It's kind of on that panhandle with Alabama. And right now I'm hanging out here with my girlfriend, some roommates, and well, I just started selling fine art, so I guess I'm a fine art consultant over here. And I'm working on some stuff with recording and my voice. I was in radio for a while, so I worked on my voiceover skills, so to speak, and my voiceover acting as a new option. So I'm just trying to try out some things, I guess.
Have you ever been an artist yourself?
I wouldn't classify myself as one. No, I mean I write things, but I don't know if they're any good yet. So who knows?
Oh, I see. Yeah, I think I remember you mentioning you had a couple things and like sitting on the shelf and
Yeah,
just see where we go with those.
yeah, just some ideas, and they might be interesting, they might not, but I guess so. You know, I'm dipping my toes in, so to speak.
Well, that's how it starts. And somewhere along the way, you just kind of find your niche and things that you actually like to do.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I definitely like talking. So this part of that works out for me.
Well, what was your radio experience when you used to do it?
Well, I got started. I got started totally just on lucky timing, and within about a year, the boss was silly enough to let me on the air, and he started training me up on how to talk on the radio and how to use my voice for radio commercials and scripts, and after another year, I did his job. He basically kind of got off the air and he did more behind the scenes thing, and I jumped in place. And then for a year straight, I was co-hosting with another gal who had been on the radio for 7 years. I had no idea what I was doing, but it was a good time.
How and did well, I wish I could have a good follow-up question, but what was the name of the show?
Well, it was called Mix Mornings on Mix 107.5. And
Okay.
we was yeah, it was a morning drive radio show. It's the kind of dorky stuff, you get up at 6 o'clock, 6:30 to take your kids to school, and you turn on the radio and you got Taylor Swift playing, and then you hear a couple of dorks get on the air and try to make you laugh, and then I don't know, the weekend comes on, and you just go on from there. And then you get your weather and your news and all the good stuff.
And that wasn't based in Florida when you did that?
No, oh, this was in New Mexico. This was in Clovis, New Mexico, and yeah, I spent 5 years in the desert. It was a lot of fun.
Jeez, man. So what was it, like an internship or a post-college gig?
No, I didn't finish. I didn't do anything with college. I went in for about a semester, and I said, I'm too smart for that. And I just sticked around. I just stuck around in restaurants, which is what I knew how to do. And I was a server for a couple of years, and then
Yeah.
the radio gig just kind of fell in my lap, and I just heard about it. I had someone tell me I had a good voice, so I thought, okay, and the
There we
rest
go.
is history. So yeah, absolutely, it was just really good timing, and I had some really good bosses who, for both selfish reasons and for altruistic reasons, they gave me a shot. So it was great.
Oh, they must have really liked you.
I that's what I hoped. Yeah, absolutely.
You still keep in touch with any of those guys?
I move around so much. It's hard to. Every now and again, I'll keep in contact, but I'm busy all the time. They're busy all the time. I mean, sometimes on Facebook, we keep in touch, but nah, not really. The real friends I have, I'll reach out to all the time, but that's only like 2 or 3 times a year for me anyways. So I'm terrible at reaching out. I'm really bad at it.
I get it. So you get a notification. Oh, it's like somebody in your network has a birthday. So why don't you let them
Yep.
know? Thinking about them, something like that.
Yeah. Just say, hey buddy, still catching up, but other than that, there's really nothing, but I've always been that way. And I think most of my good friends are that way too. So it's not really a bother, but yeah.
Oh, that's cool. And how do you like the fine art gig so far?
Well, it's my second day on the floor today,
Oh man.
and I almost sold like a $7,000 piece of glass art.
What?
And it was like this close, and I could feel it, but I guess I just didn't do my salesman routine right properly all the way through. And he's like, well, we'll be back. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And so but hey, it was fun. It's like a game. You get real close and you can feel the money coming in. You can feel their wallet coming out of their pocket. But I about 2 weeks ago, I almost got hired on as a car salesman. But I've always been hesitant, and I've always been kind of cautious around car salesmen. They make me nervous because
Yeah, I remember
yeah,
my first guy I met who was a car salesman, and I'm like he had a technique, and I sensed it. I'm like, why
right.
am I and I'm still standing here, and I'm like, I want to go. I don't care that the seats are heated.
Yeah, you can feel the show being put on. You're like, and yeah, and so I didn't know if I wanted to do that because I didn't want to sell someone something that they needed and that could be not good. But at the art gallery, it's actually good art. It's from artists who are genuinely up there in their skill and pedigree. And so I don't feel like I'm, messing anybody over for selling them this piece of art because it's legitimately good art. So it's fun because it's like a game. You get to see if you can get them to buy this lovely piece of art for the home, and if not, that's okay. The next guy in the door might do it, and it's just
Oh,
cycling
so
over.
it's like house decoration type of fine art.
We have some of that, but it's mostly wall art. Mostly wall art.
Oh, okay. So for offices or other type of like
Oh
showrooms, exhibits.
no. Oh well, it is in a gallery, but no, it's for your. Most of the stuff is for your home. I mean, this is the stuff you bring home, you put on your wall, and you look at it, and
Seven
you
grand.
ask. Oh yeah. Oh, it's
Come
crazy,
on.
man. Now we have some pieces that are like $150,000. Those are what you would probably put on your business or something. I know it's crazy. It's
Yeah, I'm trying
wild.
to think. I'm trying to think of that character, which you would probably know. Have you seen what was it, Beverly Hills Cop?
Oh, a while ago, yeah.
So, like in Beverly Hills Cop, you had Axel Foley. Shout out to Eddie Murphy. He goes into an art gallery because he was looking for his friend, and she kind of runs a gallery, and she's talking to like the guy Franz or something early, and it's like this whole like exhibit of a table, and it's just like worth, I don't know, like $150,000 for the whole thing. And
Yeah.
he sold one the day before.
Oh, dude, we have tables too, man. They're like 50 grand a table. I mean, it's weird. It's weird to be there. It's
Well,
weird
I
to be
mean,
there.
some of these guys, like, what kind of clients you got? You get people from the NBA coming in.
No, no, regular people. And it's funny because you have the regular people who walk in and they go, how much is this sculpture right here? And you go, just out of curiosity, how much do you think it is? And they go, oh, it couldn't be more than a few $100. It's like, ha, I don't laugh, obviously. I don't, you're not supposed to do that. But it is funny in your head because you go, oh God, no. But then you have people come in, and what's funny is they're wearing like a Hawaiian shirt, they're in their flip-flops, but they're like millionaires. And they're just walking around and they go, so geez, this must be like 10 grand. And you're like, well, it's only like five. And he goes, oh, all right. And he might
These
just buy
guys,
it on his way out.
yeah, like they're
Yeah.
no, they're buying assets. They're going to try and flip it and hold on to it.
Yeah.
Turn
Oh
their
yeah.
paper cash, useless fiat money directly into like a hard asset. So
Well, sure.
yeah, I mean, if it's not in real estate, it's going to be in like like in the arts, in
Well, and
in film even.
yeah, no, and we have some artists that their originals are only appreciating for the next 20 years. They guess for the next 20 years they're just going to get more and more worth it. So yeah, it is interesting to see all stratas of the pay, whatever you want to call it. All the different people come in there and have different reactions to the price tags and the art. I mean, it is truly wonderful art, so it is fun to look at, if not buy.
Now, one of my mentor, he passed away last year, and he was an artist. Like, this is a guy who did things that were better than what most 3D printers can do. He was a sculptor, everything about the word, and his house was a work of art. The display, where he parked his car, the grass. He had statues in his backyard, and like I went to his house and we hung out and talked about movies almost every single time we ever like got to hang out. And he was my neighbor for almost 30 years, and before he passed away, like my whole life I knew about
Wow.
this guy, but I never actually shook this guy's hand. Like, I'm like, hi, I grew up and I heard about you and you just happen to be my neighbor. And I'm like, oh, that
Right.
guy on the street. And we'll save that story for another time. But no, like it's ridiculous. Like, once you really commit to an art form, that there is actually a payoff to it. And like,
Yeah.
it's hard I can't imagine trying to like put a price to something like that,
Oh, yeah. No, that's the part that hurts my brain. I don't know how they figure that out. I mean, there are so many factors, and obviously it's not based on the supplies unless you're using some kind of weird
Yeah.
rare supply. It's all just acrylic, oil, and canvas. So once that's paid for, it's all subjective, or not, or there is like an actual. I don't know how that works. I really don't. It's wild.
Uh, I did an intern thing at college where I got to be paid at college, and I was in the art department. So I learned like there were a couple like simple things where there's actual technique that you use while painting to create a
Oh,
display.
sure.
And so it's like, I guess when you think about it, when you watch people play a sport and there is technique involved, or even in the UFC, you can see how guys are literally using certain forms and techniques. And whether they win or not, it's that meticulous. And I guess that shows the value.
Yeah. Well, and if you look at all the different styles of artists and art mediums and styles that we have at the gallery that I work at, yeah, you can see and you can see how they are perfected. I mean, there are some pieces that you don't even know how they're done. Far away, they look impressive, and then you come real close, and you can see every little brush stroke, you see every little thing going on, and then you just got to zoom out a little bit, and it all comes together. And yeah, so I imagine when you're paying like $3,000 for like this size of a canvas back here, if you're going to pay like $3,000 for a fine art canvas of that size, you're paying for all the time it took them to learn how to do it, I guess, and what people are willing to pay. So it's that market going on. But yeah, there's always someone who will buy it if it's if they walk in at the right time.
A good friend of mine from Ulster County, he actually, made his money in like pretty much being the broker guy for art and artists and whatnot. And we were hanging out, I think maybe like a little bit before Christmas. And he showed me a painting from like the 1700s that he paid $65,000 for. And but it was a very interesting painting because while it was in storage, and I don't remember how long it was actually in storage for, some sort of bug ate through the entire canvas and destroyed the painting and the picture. Yeah, so 65 grand right there from the 1700s. So you got the history of what that family and that woman, it just seemed like it was a portrait, and they probably paid like $1 to have it made.
Oh, right. Yeah. Exactly.
Back then, if it was $1, we probably didn't even have the dollar yet in 1700. We were still on, I think, the shillings and
some coin. Yeah.
Some sort of
bags
coin
or something. Yeah.
And I don't know what that material was made out of, but I guess a bug thought it was delicious because it destroyed the painting.
Yeah, that's too bad. That is really unfortunate.
Well, speaking of that canvas behind you, you mentioned like Star Wars was actually your favorite movie of all time.
Yeah, Star Wars, the original, the very first one. Well, I mean, really, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, is technically the best Star Wars movie ever made, and I agree. But you can't get there without watching the first one. So I really enjoy the first movie, and I am a very huge Star Wars nerd. I mean, my room isn't the cleanest room in the world, but I do have that canvas. I do have a Lego back there. And I, if you don't mind, I could take you into the front room where it gets crazy. But yeah, I am a big Star Wars fan.
Well, if you got any pictures or anything, I guess we could share it on Instagram and do the swipe left and see, or swipe right, or whatever it is. And then
however that works.
Yeah, however it works. I know like Instagram is well, I think that's the best tool for what it is we're going to be doing, and it can showcase a lot of people's work. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, no, it's the Instagram and the Facebook are a pretty powerful what is the word? Communication medium. It's
I wouldn't mind seeing a movie about the guy or the girl who created Instagram and see like their backstory compared to the network.
Yeah, they did one for Facebook. Let's see it for Instagram. Absolutely.
And I actually watch MySpace Tom on Instagram, like his journey around the world. And like this guy's like he should have every follower on the planet, following him, because he's living a great life, and this is the guy who kind of started the trend and the idea.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But see, now you got me curious though, because you asked about Star Wars. What do you have a favorite movie
My
that
favorite
belongs
movie?
to you?
Oh,
Yeah,
dude, no, like,
I gotta know.
well, favorite movie of all time, and I said this in my first podcast, and the original podcast was like Bringing Up Baby with Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant. You ever see that movie?
No, I've heard of it, and I've definitely seen previews, but I've never actually watched it.
No, I remember like growing up watching that as a kid, and I'm the firstborn child in my family, so I got to spend a lot of time in front of the TV, and usually that was my babysitter. So
And that was on.
yeah, like there was classic movies on, probably Turner Classic Movies or AMC movies,
Yep.
and I used to just watch the old ones, all the black and whites, growing up as a kid. And Cary Grant was probably like the most, I guess, the most viewed streaming movie during that time that I could remember. But like I would always ask, like, who's the main character, who's the main actor. That was, and it's not, those weren't like my first words, but I remember
Well, no, right.
I always would actually ask that question. And watching Arsenic and Old Lace, Cary Grant's movies, and just seeing these just fun films to watch. Honestly, I just like thought Cary Grant was the greatest actor ever, and I was always interested in watching his kind of movies. And it was my favorite because it was like one of my firsts. And as an adult, more modern, I'd have to say Rocky would also be my favorite film.
Very nice. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
Classic. So, I mean, I imagine would you, sorry, what was that?
No, I was just saying, only because honestly, like, I relate to the guy, Sylvester Stallone. I do. I did get to meet him on set of Creed back in 2015. So that was a real treat.
Nice.
Yeah, that was fun. And I just remember growing up watching Rocky would always leave a good impression on me, make me want to go work out, pursue my dream, and be the best version of myself. And I was always into sports, barely an athlete, but very athletic, I would say. And I guess anybody who watched Rocky would always, be able to just connect to it and just be like, kids, get up, stand up, can't keep going.
Yeah, I think that's the true testament of a good piece of art put to film right there. Because for my, for kind of the kids I grew up with, I guess my generation, Rocky is kind of more of a, it's not, I don't want to say cliche because that's not right, but it is kind of a cliche because all we know is the what's the thing where everything happens next to each other? I forget the name of it. It's a use, but the working out and the music and the imagery that we all know about it.
More like a montage type of thing.
Yeah, thank you. I was thinking monologue. That's not right. Yeah, the montage. Right.
No, yeah, montage.
Yeah, everyone. That's all we know about Rocky is the montage and the Eye of the Tiger or whatever. And but for a guy like yourself, you actually watched it as a serious piece of film, which it is, and
sure.
you drew inspiration from it. I just find that very interesting.
Well, like when Sylvester Stallone kind of did his interviews over time, and I saw one recently not too long ago, like a lot of people identified Rocky as a boxing movie. No, it's not. Honestly, like that is something he did, yes,
right,
but it's not about that. I could agree with him to an extent, the same way I could agree that Die Hard is not a Christmas movie, even though I say it is. But when he was actually telling his story on what it's actually really about, it's about a guy trying to like build a life, fall in love with a girl, and which may be a little cliche. It's like boy meets girl, has to overcome something. Girl falls in love with boy, they move on, and they live happily ever after. Rocky, similar recipe, but totally different version. This is a guy who just never had a break, for the longest time. The character, at least, I think, for Rocky Balboa, this is a guy who just, was like a nobody, a nothing, just a guy working for, like loan sharks. And at some point, he met his, I guess, Master Yoda, where he came to that point where a mentor really just, gave it to him straight. And you could have asked for a better actor on planet Earth to be involved outside of Burgess Meredith. Like, he is probably, one of my favorite actors of all time, just because of how great of a character actor this guy actually always was, and funny and awesome. But that's what my takeaway was from Rocky, because just unfortunately for me, I just never really had that guy in my corner to just kind of like, be my, like, who's Mick? Who's that guy who says, Phil, like, this is what I see in you. And, just kind of like be a coach, be that mentor, because I'm good with coaches, especially ones who I respect, who've walked the walk and, could watch my back, and I'll listen to them. That's just my personality. But it's not about boxing, though. It's really about a guy overcoming life and getting through it, and the value of fighting, on what that actually does for you to get back up and keep moving forward.
Well, to bring it back to Star Wars, just about everything you just said. I know most people, even people such as my parents, might look at me like this if I bring up Star Wars and compare it to Rocky on the way of what it can mean to a person. And obviously I'm biased because I grew up with Star Wars. My mom was a big fan of it. So she kind of, because of her fondness of it, of course, I picked up on it as well because it was always around. But you see Luke, and Luke is someone who I think everybody thinks Star Wars is about, and it kind of is. But I think it's about Luke and Darth Vader and Han Solo. And if you take those three characters, it's a lesson for almost every kind of personality that I think most people can come in contact with throughout their lives. And, Luke is the whiny brat who wants to go and, go off with his friends and ignore his responsibilities. And he learns that he's not as great as he thought he could be, and that he needs to check himself and be a little humble, even though he's the son of this great Jedi who is now a bad guy, Darth Vader. Spoiler alert, by the way.
Yeah. Those of you who haven't seen Star Wars yet.
For those of you who haven't seen it. And, Darth Vader is the idea of something that is like truly evil, that is it is personified. He's a bad dude, but at the end of it, there's still this little nugget of goodness within him. And all it takes is the true embodiment of good, which is Luke, to bring out that goodness in Darth Vader. And Han Solo, which is the reason I watch Star Wars. He's my favorite character. He's the selfish, jaded, I don't need anything else in the world other than me and my pet Chewbacca here. But just because he is deep down an individual, a human being with a soul, he couldn't help but fight with the rebellion and defeat the Empire. And so even though he wanted to leave and make his money and just be selfish, smuggler, he turned around and helped save the galaxy. And so you got these three personalities that, three story arcs, character arcs that you can follow along with, and you can learn from that. Like with Luke, you kind of learn to not be a little. You kind of learn to try to be a little humble. You can't be great at everything right away. Where at the same time, you got Han Solo, who is cocky. He is awesome, and he is actually worthy of being cocky. But he has to put that down to be a bigger person. And so it's just these. I just love it. There's so many lessons you can learn from a silly sci-fi opera that was written by some guy who had no idea what he was doing, but did.
Oh, you mean George Lucas?
Yeah. He's a weird fellow,
Welcome to Happy Corner. This project strives to make safe housing areas for stray cats at an affordable price. It's so easy to put together that even your children could have fun making one. Help keep cats and other animals safe with their own little Happy Corner homes. You can help this project become a reality by donating to the GoFundMe page. Happy Corner homes are a great way to show those animals in need it's okay to be happy.
The documentaries I've been watching, you have like Disney Plus. You ever see like the Star Wars documentaries that they got, even the old documentaries?
I've watched. I soak them up. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like I know George Lucas, I think he mentioned it through Disney Plus that he was actually there when he was like a kid, maybe not even 10 years old, for the grand opening of Disney Land, I think, when it
Yeah.
opened up.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
little things like that where you could just spark imagination into a kid, and then just within like half a century, all of a sudden you have this empire itself of a world, you know?
Yeah. He without. I mean, it depends on who you talk to. Some people will say he knew exactly what he was doing, and other people like me will say no, but he was good enough and creative enough to be able to improvise and to
Yeah.
create something that was so huge and so successful.
Well, what was it about, I guess, episode 5 that just made that one the best one?
You know, it's hard to say because the easy out, which is true, I believe, is the easy out. It is just supremely directed, like on a technical point of view. If you're trying to ignore all of the nostalgia and all the cool, interesting stuff, just technically on just like a writing standpoint, it's a perfect film. It's paced better than most movies I've ever seen that have come out in the past 20 years. And you are sitting there staring at the screen for almost 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And it was back in the early 80s. And they had just and the writing is fantastic. You're actually paying attention to every scene. There is not really a scene where you go, okay, I can go to the bathroom real quick. Like you want to watch it. And but there are those downtimes, right? There are those kind of, okay, we're relaxing now. We're picking back up, but you still want to watch it because of the character interactions. Like the scene when they're on, like one of the most boring scenes of the whole movie, which is saying a lot because the whole movie is awesome. One of the most boring scenes of the whole movie is when they're on the asteroid and they're inside the worm
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
they're
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
hiding. Yeah, and it's kind of like you look back like right now, you can think about it and go, yeah, I might skip that scene if I could. But you're in I watched it just a month ago and I'm going, this is great. It's funny. I want to see what all the characters are doing. It's just yeah, it's just a technically awesome movie. But the best part by far is the very first scene, is the Hoth battle, the big AT-AT snowspeeder battle.
Oh,
It's
those
great.
are great. Yeah, with
Oh yeah.
the walking thingies.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The worst designed assault platform ever, but it's still the coolest thing to watch, you know.
Yeah, like you would think that thing it's not going to drop. I mean,
No.
okay. And they
Well, and all you got to do is get behind it and you're good to go. But you know, it's funny, but it's still cool. You're still, even though I know that as an adult, I go, this is stupid. I'm sitting and watching it going, this is awesome, you know? So
yeah,
yeah.
I think when they did the Ewok battle in the next episode, when they had those smaller little like other robot things, I think those were a step up.
Yeah, the ATSTs, those were a lot of people will complain about episode 6, Return of the Jedi, because of the Ewoks. And it is a little weird. But yeah, that whole battle is great with the little two ATSTs and the Ewoks messing around. That's fantastic. It's
Yeah,
great. And
it's fun.
it's all practical. I mean, it was all practical effects. It's fantastic to watch.
Yeah, you got literal natives, more of a chipmunk, and
Yeah.
on the other hand, you got the Empire, and they're
Yep.
they're locked
Oh
and
yeah.
loaded, ready to go. That was
Oh
a
yeah,
fun.
he had his. Oh yeah, absolutely. He knew what he was doing. He knew where he was going with that one, and the whole series. And even if you look at the new, or not the new ones, the prequels, the episodes 1, 2, 3, back in the early 2000s. I mean, uh, they're kind of bad. They're kind of hard to watch. The dialogue is really cringy sometimes,
Yeah.
but it's still kind of fun. And it's kind of, you know, what's weird is he kind of wrote it that way, but he didn't really know. I guess you could say he did a really good job of writing what he meant to write, which was really cringy dialogue. But you know, if you compare it to the last 3 that came out, episodes 7, 8, 9, I mean, they're great. The prequels are fantastic compared to the new ones.
No, I I agree. I never really understood why like Phantom Menace, for example, like I was in like 6th, 7th grade when it came out.
Yeah.
I remember the day it came out. I went and I saw it and I thought it was incredible.
Sure. Yeah.
Like as a kid, it's like, nah, you don't know any better. But every other person's like, nah, it's just no good. So what was it? George Lucas? Was he the writer? He wrote the dialogue. He did
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. George Lucas wrote 1, 2, and 3. I mean, he obviously had help, but yeah, he was the head. He was the head guy.
Maybe, I don't know. Like, you ever feel like maybe your writing gets a little bit more jaded with age, where it's just like the romance kind of just dies, and it's like,
Actually,
I don't care about these people anymore.
actually, if you no, I mean, what's funny is if you go back and watch Star Wars Episode 4, and you try to watch Star Wars, just the original one, if you try to watch it from a objective lens, you can see that prequel writing going on. George Lucas has always been like that. He's just kind of a dork, and there are some lines in the very first Star Wars where you're going, oh, what the heck? Like, that's weird. But it goes right over it. And then I guess in episode 5 and 6, he just had better directors and writers helping him out. And then in the prequels, he was given, I think he had just more reign on the script, and it went really weird. But it's still, don't get me wrong. I watch episode 1. Everybody hates the Phantom Menace, but it's not really that bad. Jar Jar is a weird thing. We don't need to have Jar Jar, but the rest of it's fine.
Waste.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't understand.
I heard. I mean, it was a waste because
Yeah.
I heard rumors about Jar Jar Binks where he was actually supposed to be kind of essential to the whole plot.
Yeah, well, don't get me wrong, man. There are so many theories on Darth Jar Jar that it's yeah, it's funny, and it actually, the funny thing is because of how terribly written the character is, the theories actually make sense. But
Well,
but it's still a good, like, episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Great movie, kind of dumb, but it's a great movie, and it gets you into episode 4, and
Yeah.
it all works together. The sequels or the prequels are kind of weird, but they work, and it's okay, and they're fun to watch.
Well, how do you feel about the spinoffs that we've been getting lately?
Yeah, you know what's funny? It's good that you call them spin-offs, because that's exactly what they see like. They don't feel like they're Star Wars anymore. They just feel like they are. Well, I mean, the cliche would just to say they're corporate infused, action figures that are played by real people. But
Right.
it's kind of awful. Like, Rogue One is a fun movie that came out in like
15, 16 maybe, something like that.
Yeah, Rogue One, that's a fun movie.
Mhm.
But the rest of them are awful. I mean, episodes 7, 8, 9. I remember watching 7 and think, like, of course I was ready for 7 to come out. I was like, heck yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, we got Luke Skywalker coming back after a 35-year manhunt win. So let's go.
Yeah, and at the time it was like, well, Disney's got this. Like, they're gonna knock it out of the park. I mean, Disney's awesome, right? And so, of course, and then when I watched it the first time, I thought, yeah, right. And when I watched it the first time, I went, okay, like, all right, that was neat. I'm interested. I would like to see what comes next. And then I watched it again, and I was like, oh, they really better make a good movie the next, or if the next one isn't good, I'm not going to like this one. And then The Last Jedi came out, and man, I walked out with a migraine. I mean, no joke. I had a migraine. It was such a terrible movie. And it was from the first scene. I go, all right, here we go. This is what I've been waiting a whole year or 2 years for. Let's see how it goes. And the first 5 minutes, I'm like, no way. It was, ugh. And I don't want to be a snob, but it really was bad. It really was bad.
So what'd you like? Was it just like the wrong combination of whether it's the actors, the writing, the dialogue, the whole nine?
Okay, so acting, fine. They actually had some high caliber, fine acting on there. The actors weren't bad. The visuals, no, it was a very good looking movie. There were some certain scenes that you had never seen it before in Star Wars, and it looked amazing. But when you started to think about everything, this is the problem. If you don't think about it, it's cool. You're watching a bunch of eye candy. It's amazing. It's fun. You're like, it's Star Wars. Sure. But then once you start to just put a little bit of critical thought in there, it all falls apart. None of the writing made sense. They created it was terrible. Yeah, I mean, they had a full 45-minute side mission, a subplot that went absolutely nowhere, and I'm not saying this as a point of view or a personal opinion. It really didn't go anywhere. It was all over by the time the subplot ended. It added nothing to the film, and it was all just a way of trying to make a point that I don't know. You don't
It didn't
really
actually
need to
even make a point. It was more like a decoy.
Yeah, it was and the whole rest of it. I mean, I don't want to get too into it because I don't want it to be some critical analysis of Kyle's critical analysis of Star Wars, but
I don't think you're going to get hate Instagram mail or anything like that. So, I mean, you're probably going to make a lot of friends when you're honest about.
Well, yeah. Well, no, it's not that I don't want to irritate anybody. I just don't want to bore anybody with my opinion, but it's not, it's not an unpopular opinion. I mean, a lot of people hate this movie but the thing is, okay, if it was just bad writing, that's okay. Star Wars, this movie, the greatest, it had some bad writing in it. That's fine. We can get past that. But it was the 2.5 hour long bad writing, like extravaganza, and it was made by Disney, who you got
a decent reputation. So it's like, what happened?
Like I grew up going to Disney World and going to the Star Wars like themed part of Disney World. Like they were so true to the source and they so cared about Star Wars. And then you get the new crowd coming in, and the thing is really at the bottom line, it was kind of an insult at the end of the day. It was, they did not care about what came before. They didn't care about the fans. They wanted to make their own thing. And I get that. That's fine. But it's not, I don't find it accidental that they did. Here's the biggest crime, right? The biggest crime of the past 3 Star Wars was that Han Solo, Princess Leia, and Luke Skywalker were never in the same room at all. How do you do that? And you had them around. Carrie Fisher was alive during The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
You could have done it, but no, they didn't. And they just killed them off one by one and made them look kind of miserable, and that was it. Like you're watching the most recent one, episode 9, and you're going, wow, yeah, they never even reunited the original 3. Like, how do they? Oh God, it was just, it's unfortunate.
Did they do that with Harry Potter? Everybody came together at the end.
Well, the ones that weren't dead, yeah, I think so.
Oh, yeah. Other than spoiler if you guys haven't seen Harry Potter, anything.
Yeah, no, but see, that's the funny thing. So, Harry Potter is like one of the best written things ever. Especially if you compare it to the new Star Wars. I mean, Harry Potter is so impressively written, and it's by one person.
Yeah,
one person. So
I heard she has more money than the Queen of England.
She's good to go. Yeah,
former queen.
I think. Yeah, her net worth is bigger than some countries. I mean, that she's doing okay.
Well, I mean, even that, to just really like use your own imagination and then all of a sudden inspire people to be like, maybe we could take this a step farther. I don't know.
Yeah.
We can end it right there, or maybe we could take it one step further.
And we can keep going. And that's what she did. And it's fascinating to see the kind of tools that she used in her arsenal that I don't even think she knew she had. I mean, the golden snitch, which is like this 300-year-old alchemical symbol that you can't even find in a library if you tried, but somehow J.K. Rowling knew about this, wrote about it, and actually described it properly as a metaphor. And you have some psychologists and psychiatrists going, I have no idea how she knew that because we couldn't find this anywhere. And it was like some 300-year-old alchemical textbook. It's crazy. I mean, what she had in her mind was wild.
This sounds like a little bit of a hidden gem because I don't know anything about this tale of all tales. No, I never.
Well, okay, so you know Harry Potter, you know Quidditch, the game, yeah, with the brooms.
Oh yeah, that thingy, yeah.
Yep. So essentially, they got a whole. I'll try to really quickly, cover it. But essentially, you got a bunch of people flying around on brooms and they're whacking balls through holes, and there's this one flying ball called the golden snitch.
Oh, that thing. Yeah.
Yep. And you have 2 people on either team who are trying to catch it. And they're called the Seekers. And whoever catches it first ends the game. But you could still lose the game if you've scored less points than the other team when the game ends. So the catching of it doesn't mean you win. It just means the game's over. And so people were we didn't know so we just thought it was a cool thing that J.K. Rowling came up with. But as it turns out, there's this few 100-year-old symbol on an alchemy textbook that was it was like a sphere of knowledge, and it was this big golden sphere with these big wings coming out of it. And essentially what it was the knowledge of a meta game that you play a whole bunch of games. I'm gonna butcher this terribly, so don't quote me on any of this, but I'm getting the right idea. Essentially, the idea of the snitch is that you catch it, but you end it, you don't win. There is something with this alchemic symbol that was something along the lines of games upon games upon games being played, and that this is the way, or this is the secret to winning the games or something. Just crazy little bit of knowledge that I'm sorry, I butchered just now, but
God
it's
willing,
fascinating.
Maybe we'll actually have one day and have Mrs. Rawlings come right on the show. And for any clarity, if anybody knows her, if she'd like to be a guest on the AFC podcast, please send her on over. Love to talk to her for a minute.
Yeah, just ask her to not watch the past 2 minutes. Just don't watch the past 2 minutes, and
you know she's probably gonna get wind that it's just like, oh, there's this guy Kyle. He's he's in the club. We just met, and then someone's gonna be like, he was actually in one of the early episodes. So
and he has this theory about your golden stitch. You got to talk to him about it. It's great.
Well,
yeah,
I mean, was it used only in the game when they were actually playing the game, or so? Yeah, I think. Now, wouldn't it have been nice if, like, during the big battle scene, which was great, like I saw the last Harry Potter, I saw the last Harry Potter movie for the first time the day it came out, and it was a double sequel because the part one they played early, and then part two. And I am in the room, like I'm at Sony Theaters or AMC Theaters at the time, up in Middletown, New York, and the entire Galleria is only Harry Potter fans. Like there was probably over 1,000 people. And they just that was it. It was a midnight show. It was a double feature, and I could not believe the enthusiasm of this crowd. Like I just like, this is amazing energy. And I had never watched Harry Potter before that day. I didn't watch it for the whole decade they've been filming. I'm like, that's
funny. You're like, no, well, I'll just try it out.
But I mean, like, just as a writer, when you actually, have something that precious inside the hero's journey, how do you incorporate in the last stand everything that you learned along that time, including that game? So like, wouldn't it have been nice if they actually did have some of those things going on, like that game was actually being played inside the school as a defense type of a strategy? Because
yeah, I mean, I don't know if they could. Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. That would have been neat. And I think, they were doing some flying around stuff in the end there, but I haven't seen, when did those ones come out? It was like, gosh, it's been forever now. Time flies, but
must have been 2000.
I have to rewatch.
I don't want to say 2010, but it could have been closer to 2000.
No, that sounds right. Yeah, that's wild.
Something like that. 10, 11, or 12, like right around that time.
Well, hey, but I don't want to be that guy, but I think I told my girlfriend I'd be done around this time, and I only have 3% battery left, so I think I might have to cut off. But we can do this again, yeah?
I really hope we do this again.
Yeah.
We'll definitely talk a little bit more. And thank you, honestly, Kyle. I'm really excited to be working with you down the future. I really can't wait to see what kind of imagination you've had growing up and just writing these little things down. And maybe who knows, like maybe if we take it a little bit farther, we don't know.
Hey, I couldn't have said it better myself. You have no idea how excited I am to be a part of the Astoria Filmmakers Club. And to be working with you. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I don't call it work. This is playtime, No,
well, I'm looking forward to yeah, absolutely.
No, but all the best to you and your girlfriend. Sorry for holding me up. I'm sure you guys are hungry.
Oh,
dinner.
She's fine. She'll be fine.
But I would love to know like what she thinks of Star Wars next time and whatever her favorite movie might have been, and just the story of you.
Okay. Hey, that sounds like a great idea. I'm good for it.
All right. Until next time, my friend.
All right. Take it easy, buddy. Thank you.
Ciao for now.